Today's lesson we're going to look at how we deal with different payment types. We have different customers. Some customers pay by online banking and that goes straight into our NatWest Bank. That with most accounts packages is very simple to account for because you're just simply going to input that client payment through your NatWest banking onto the NatWest Bank and it'll run the balance and you can compare your balance. So for example, if I look typically at a NatWest Bank statement without that, I've got the amount that was debited from customer with a running balance, our own running balance. Now obviously I can match what I'm inputting onto my QuickBooks system with what we're actually getting from the customer. So every day I'm going to tally what the end balance is and I know that's in our NatWest Bank, so whether we're in credit or whether we're in debit. Now so those customers who pay by online banking, that's really easy. The problem we have then is we've got customers that pay us with a direct debit. So for example, we have a lot of residential customers and we want them to pay by direct debit. To be getting small little amounts from individual customers is just too complicated. So those guys will pay by direct debit and we process that debit. The problem is there is a time scale between getting the debit and actually processing it. So what we'll do is we will put those customers into like a holding account, which is called undeposited funds. So we'll input the payments as if when we're pulling them off. So there might be £25,000 of payments this particular day that we will put in and we'll process each payment to the undeposited funds. The problem we have is that it takes 2 weeks for us to get the verification back that the direct debit has actually passed. So it'll sit in that account for those 2 weeks, but at least the customers, when they get sent their statements, it'll show that they've paid already. So they're not going to phone up and say, why are you telling us that we owe this when we pay by direct debit? It will actually be processed, but of course it will only actually pass into their account as and when we process the whole big payment. So for example, that £25,000 will have been made up of 25 or 50 customers or 100 customers, however many it is. They sit in undeposited funds from the 10th of the month through to the 24th of the month. The 24th of the month, bing, it suddenly appears on my NatWest Bank, but as one big amount, the £25,000, not all the individual ones. So because we put it into this undeposited funds account, we can then simply pass a transaction that will take it out of the undeposited funds as one big payment into the NatWest account. Now the problem we have again with that is that there will invariably be a couple of direct debits that might bounce. Despite that, we then have to just write a journal back to the onto the NatWest account to reduce that balance by that particular debit, and it'll then get reversed back of that customer. So then we know we've got a problem with the customer. Now, as we know in accounts, 85% of the customers, there's a ratio Pareto, 80% of the customers are fine, 20% you'll get a problem, and that's probably pretty well what we as a water cooler business are running on. Tomorrow we'll just cover some of the other accounts and the problems that we have, but that's basically how NatWest and we process our Go Cardless or our direct debit payments through a separate account. Thanks, and thanks for watching.